This is Dennis Eggemeyer, and we have the proud pleasure of having the great Hollywood actor Danny Glover, star of many films over the years, including critically acclaimed performances in The Color Purple and Beloved, and also known as the Sergeant Murtaugh in the action movie series Lethal Weapon. When he's in Peoria, he was part of a performance of Langston and Martin and Hughes here at Bradley. Welcome to Peoria.
Hello, how are you doing there, Dennis?
Take a look at your biography. You had a couple of parents that were involved in an NAACP.
Well, my parents were involved in the union, their union. They were postal employees, and they were involved in the National Alliance of Postal Employees, very much involved in the early 50s in their union. They also were lifelong members of the NAACP. They were active, and my mother was active in her sorority. They were active in community, in their community.
And based upon what would you able to, were they good influences on you as far as what you wanted to do in acting, and also as far as giving back to the community?
Well, they were primarily influenced. The best influence that they could ever bring me was that they loved me, and they loved all their children. And I just had two of the most extraordinary parents, the sweetest parents imaginable. And of course, when I think about my community involvement or my involvement in various initiatives, certainly my parents come to mind. Yes.
Getting back to your Hollywood career, which we had mentioned include The Color Purple, Beloved, also a couple of nice family films, Operation Double Drop, and one of my favorites, Angels in the Outfield, things like that. As you reflect back, do you have anything that you think you've not done as an actor?
Well, I don't know if there's always, I don't care if you've done 100 films, 200 films. I don't care if is there someone like Gregory Peck, who's done so much work and everything else. The many other actors and actresses who've done a great deal of work. There's always something you want to do or something you feel that you haven't done, So, but you don't think about that. The thing you think about is, what is the next thing I'm going to do? What is the next thing I want to do?
You had a good quote from the Parade magazine, 1996, where you talked about that Hollywood has lost its art. That they don't think about film as an art anymore. They only think about selling tickets and getting people in. That was 6 years ago. Do you think that's still the same now?
Well, I mean, the statement that I make then, and granted, I don't remember what that statement was, but the fact is that you're always dealing with the issue of balancing what is considered artistic and storytelling as opposed to what makes money, So there's always a constant struggle, a constant battle over that. Certainly, I'm sure at each period in times in the history of film that battle has been waged constantly. So we determine what we want to see, and sometimes we are seduced into believing that or feeling that the only kind of films are films that entertain us. And films that we're able to kind of just space out on.
Do you have any projects coming up that you think will bring you some more critical acclaim?
Well, I don't know. I hope everything that I do is, I don't know. I don't look for projects. I look for good stories, and I'm trying to look for a good story to tell.
Another question is. One of the things that NAACP has been on Hollywood about is including more African Americans, not only in front of the screen, but also behind the camera in terms of writing, producing, executive producing, directing, and so forth. Have you seen opportunities increase over the last few years in that?
Well, I mean, it's hard to say with a blanket yes or no on that question. There's still work to do, and whether we've seen some increases, or whether those increases have been marginal or dramatic, whatever, there's still a great deal of work to do. And I think we should think about, when we think about what we need to do in terms of this industry, it's not too distant from what we need to do in terms of society. If we're a work in progress, if what we're doing here is a work in progress, then certainly the industry itself is a work in progress. So even when we think that we've made some large strides, that we have to make even larger strides.
Another question, let's talk about the performance you did in Bradley tonight, Martin and Hughes. Tell us about that.
Well, the piece that we did with Martin, An Evening with Martin and Langston, it's the poetry of Langston Hughes and the writings of Reverend Martin Luther King, Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King, is an attempt to engage an audience and to create a dialogue, a stimulated dialogue. It is what we call history in living history. You know, how do we use those words to invigorate what is happening in our lives and what is happening in our society? These are men who were proactive in a sense. These are men who were activists in a sense. Hughes through his poetry, Langston certainly through his work, and these are men who were constantly evolving. Hughes, Martin started off as an organizer, or part of a team, was an organizer of a bus boycott in 1955, and by the time of his death 13 years later, he was renowned for his work as a human rights activist. He marched not only for black people, but also for poor people as well. All right?